Hello students, today we are going to start a new part, that is the disorders of immune system. So there are numbers of diseases we may suffer due to the imbalance or malfunctioning of the immune system. So in this chapter, in this part actually, in this topic, we have three disorders. What are the disorders? First of all, we have allergy. Second disease, this is the autoimmune disorder. Autoimmune, we'll write like this. Autoimmune disease or disorders. And the third type, that is actually due to the deficiency of the immune cells, we suffer from one disease that is known as SCID. So due to the deficiency of the immune system, we will suffer another disease. So all these diseases or the disorders we will see in three separate videos. So in this video we will discuss only the first type of disease, that is allergy. So let's just start. First of all, what is allergy? Allergy means whenever we come across to a lot of people who actually used to say that I have allergy to this food or I have allergy to dust, isn't that? Or also we suffered or we experienced this thing, but never confuse with this allergy with a disease, because allergy is not a disease. Allergy is just the exaggerated immune response or highly intensive response due to what happens. Some type of particles or something, if it is entering, then in our body will start to develop this immune response. So we know that in the immune response part we have discussed that we have two type of immune responses. First one is the primary immune response and the second one is the secondary immune response. So whenever something that is taught by the immune system that it is a foreign thing, then first of all we will have the primary immune response. So in this primary immune response, actually allergic reaction will not take place. But whenever secondary immune response will occur, then exaggerately that individual will have intensive immune response and that can cause allergy. So let's just see what is different type of allergens can be. So allergens can be anything. It can be sunlight also, it can be heat, it can be cold also, isn't? It can be dust, it can be pollen grain, or it can be just the fruit, right? It can be sometime penicillin, some drugs also. So what happened that in our body some type of immune responses are actually produced and that can cause allergy. So what is allergy? Allergy means it is the highly intensive response of immune system. So this is called as allergy. Now what can be the allergens? That allergens can be pollen, right? It can be even dust, it can be sunlight, right? It can be a dry particle also, it can be different types of food habit, it can be aerosol, different type of thing can be allergens, right? So those allergens, whenever it enters inside our body will start to develop the immune response and that will cause allergy. Now we will see that in allergy what happens to that individual, right? So just see what happens. So first of all, suppose some of the particle they have entered due to any case, suppose we inhaled it or we have eaten it, okay, or just the skin is exposed to that. Then what happened? Our two different type of response will occur. So whenever pathogen enters, suppose a pathogen have entered, so this may be pollen, dust, sunlight or anything. Okay, we are exposed to suppose sunlight. Some people are exposed to suppose cold. Then what will happen? In our body, immunoglobulin, that is immunoglobulin E, that will start to increase, right? And I have already told you whenever we discuss the different type of immunoglobulins, antibodies, that this IgE, immunoglobulin E, take part in the allergic reaction. So IgE level will be very high in the blood. Now the next thing that will also happen, that our macrophages, right, that macrophages will trap this pathogen. This will also happen, and it will induce our mast cell or the basophil, right? So this mast cell or the basophil, which will be activated whenever macrophages will suppose attack, and in that period of time what happen, this mast cell will release two chemicals. What are they? One is histamine, and second one, this is known as serotonin. Now, what is the function of histamine and serotonin? Remember, histamine is known as the vasodilator, right? And serotonin, this is known as vasoconstrictor, right? Now, whenever the individual experience suppose allergy, what happens? Suppose we have the allergy. This is very common. We all experience that in the skin there is a swelling occurs, and whenever in that region we have swelling, that region become reddish, right? So why this is happening? Why? Because this type of allergens, whenever is experienced by the immune system, then the mast cell or the basophil, they will start to release histamine. And whenever histamine is released, histamine suppose is released, okay, from the mast cell, then we have this blood vessel, right? So this blood vessel will dilate. Okay, now why dilation of this blood vessel occur? Dilation occur just because to that region, suppose this is the diameter of the blood vessel. So from this blood vessel, suppose 20 WBC can come at a time. Now, due to the widening of the blood vessel, what will happen? More and more WBC can come to that region and can fight against those pathogens. This is the same idea. So what happened? This mast cell will release this histamine, and because of this, what happened? This blood vessel will get dilated, and whenever the blood vessel dilates, then lots of WBC will come to that region, and just above that we have suppose the skin. So that skin also will have inflammation, right? Now another thing also will happen along with allergy. What is that? That whenever an individual have allergy, excessive mucus secretion occurs. Excessive mucus secretion can occur from the nose, can from the eye, anything. So what happened in the body? Suppose we start the allergic reaction, then what happened? The blood vessel dilates. And whenever the blood vessel dilates, the tissue fluid, you know the plasma, how actually it can come out. So the plasma that will start to come out, and that liquid will go to the tissue part. It will go to the interstitial space. It will go to the go outside the blood vessel to the region of the tissue. So that's why what happened at one period of time. Suppose this is, one second, just think, this is the vessel. So this is the diameter, right? So from that region, a amount of blood is flowing, and because of that we have a pressure, right? We have a blood pressure. Now, whenever this blood vessel suppose dilates, right, and it is dilated due to the release of histamine, what will happen? Blood pressure will increase or decrease? Obviously, the blood pressure will decrease. And if the blood pressure decrease in extreme cases, what can happen? Due to allergy, that individual, due to the fall in BP, that individual can suffer from nausea. That means he can faint, right? Or in extreme cases, he can die also. Due to the less blood pressure, the individual may die in extreme cases, right? So this is allergy. This can be simplest reaction. To the extreme, it can take the individual's life also. That is called as allergy, right? And the next thing, suppose the allergic reaction is over, then what happens? Serotonin will be released, who will bring that the normal size, diameter of the blood vessel once again to decrease the allergic reaction. So what happened whenever an individual suppose have allergy, then in the blood actually how many things are tested? IgE, then histamine and serotonin. And if it is understood that yes, in the blood that individual have high level of IgE, high level of histamine and serotonin, then yes, he has allergy, right? So that is nothing but the allergic reaction, and simply it is allergy. Now we should know that the different types of allergy we have, right? What are the different types of allergic reaction one individual can experience? See, these are very much common. First one, this is suppose hay fever. Hay fever is very common. Second type of allergic reaction is asthma. Okay, and third type of allergic reaction, this is known as anaphylaxis or anaphylactic shock, right? So what is anaphylactic shock now? What is asthma and hay fever? See, so first of all, what happened in hay fever? What happened, we know that one thing, that if suppose somehow that individual have this allergic reaction due to the atmospheric condition, right, then what happened, doctor generally advise to change the location for that period of time, and whenever they change the location, allergic reaction decreases. Okay, why? Because in that locality there are some type of herbs or different type of trees are present, and we know that trees, they release the pollen grains, so that pollen grain will present in the air, and if somehow that individual inhale to that pollen where he have this allergic reaction, then this is acting as an allergen and it can cause allergic reaction. So if they change the location, that may be possible that individual can decrease the allergy from that specific area. So what is happening in this case? In hay fever, actually what happened? The individual can suffer from fever. Fever is not a disease, all of us we know. So he can experience fever, he can have runny nose also, and the conjunctiva, that can also have extreme level of mucus secretion, or simply it becomes teary, watery. So it may tear like thing, it is actually the water that comes out, that is known as hay fever. Now why does hay fever occurs? Because that individual who is allergic to suppose some pollens of grass or some specific type of haze or straws, then he inhaled that, and due to the inhalation of those pollens of grass or straws or hay, what can happen to him? He will have the allergic response, and due to that, see, already we know that from this blood vessel plasma comes out, that increase the fluid in the body, then extensively from the nose, from the eye, watery secretion start to release. Okay, so what is that? That is hay fever. It is not that dangerous. Now the next disease that can be sometimes dangerous, but this is also common, what is that? That is asthma. Okay, so what is asthma? Suppose an individual is allergic to suppose somehow aerosol or some dry particles, he suppose have, or he or she have inhaled, right? So whenever he inhale those type of dry components or aerosol, then what happen? Inside the respiratory tract, inside the bronchiole, he will have inflammation. Suppose this is the respiratory tract now. Forget now, this is the respiratory tract. Now due to the presence of, or due to the inhalation of those dry particle, what can happen? Inside the respiratory tract, the tract lining will start to have inflammation. And whenever inflammation occurs, this is the size, diameter. Now the diameter remains same, but inside the inflammation occurs. And due to this inflammation, earlier that was the size, that was the diameter from where the air can pass. Now due to the inflammation, what happened? Air passage from where the air can enter and we can breathe. That the size of the diameter, that size of the air, that will start to decrease, right? So if the size of that airways, the passage of air, if it is decreased, the individual may experience shortening of breathing. He will not able to breathe. Oxygen will not sufficiently will go to his lungs, and oxygen, we know inspiration is very much important. So in this case, the individual can suffer that asthmatic attack, and it can lead to death also. Okay, sometime in extreme cases, if he do not get this inhaler, then he may suffer from this extreme cases, and it can take the life also. Okay, so that is known as asthma. I will tell you what was present actually in the inhaler. Now the next type, the third type of disease, allergic reaction, not disease, allergic reaction, it is known as anaphylactic shock. So what happened? Sometimes the individual, sometimes some people can be also allergic to penicillin, right? We know penicillin, what is that? If suppose due to any type of bacterial infection, the individual is prescribed penicillin to take. So penicillin is injected, and whenever penicillin is injected intravenously inside the body, he is suppose allergic to penicillin. What will happen? He will have dilation of blood vessel, and if the blood vessel get dilate, what will happen? Blood pressure will fall, and due to the fall in the blood pressure, within short period of time he can die also, right? So what is that? This is the anaphylactic shock due to penicillin. This can happen. See, these are the different type of allergic reaction. Hay fever, why it occurs? Due to the pollen of grass, okay, or hay, right? Why asthma occurs? Due to the inhalation of dry particle or aerosol. Okay, and why anaphylactic shock or anaphylaxis happens? Due to the injection of penicillin, right? So due to the insertion from the air passage or from the food passage or from by just injection, if some type of allergens enter inside our body, it can cause allergic reaction. It can be normal symptoms. So what are the symptoms? He will have itchiness, he will have red patches that can appear in the skin, he will have shortening of breathing in the asthma, he may also experience extreme watery nose or eye, or in extreme cases he will decrease the blood pressure, he can get faint, or in extreme cases he can die also. Okay, so these are the symptoms. Now, what type of drugs can be prescribed to the people who is allergic to suppose some allergens? So what are the different type of drugs that can be prescribed, right? So what are the different type of drugs are prescribed? See, we can have antihistamine, right? He can take antihistamine and he can recover from that condition. Okay. Second thing, he can also take steroid. Okay, so from the steroids also, one individual to certain extent he can have relief from allergy, right? So, and the third type that we, so how many types of drugs can be prescribed to the people who is suffering from this allergy? See, it can be antihistamine, it can be steroid, or it can be adrenaline. Okay, so this three types of drugs can cause, actually to little extent it can decrease the allergic reaction. So we have seen that there are three types of drugs that can be used, right? There are three types of diseases, not diseases, some allergic reactions in hay fever, in asthma, and in anaphylactic shock. We can take any of the drugs. But very often what happens in case of asthma, there is a specific type of drug is used that is not antihistamine. So if an individual take antihistamine or suppose adrenaline, he will not able to recover, or he will not able to get or relief from the condition allergy or that asthmatic shock. What is that? He specifically have to take some type of bronchodilator who will able to once again dilate the bronchiole, or it can able to increase the air passage, and this way that individual can able to decrease that asthmatic trouble or asthmatic attack can be relieved to certain extent by this bronchodilator. So these are the different type of diseases we have discussed. So hope you have understood. One thing that is very much important, what is that? In the three types of conditions, we have to know that whenever the individual have allergy, then the level of IgE increases, then histamine increases and serotonin increases. So you can remember as she. S means serotonin, H means histamine, and E means IgE, immunoglobulin E, which will able to decrease the allergy, which will actually show the indication of allergy. So that is all about the different types of allergic condition where the individual suffer from runny nose or watery eyes or difficulty in breathing or decrease in blood pressure, due to what it that individual may suffer from suppose nausea, or he can get faint, or in extreme cases he can die. Okay, so that is all about allergy. Hope you have understood. So that is all about the different type of allergic reactions, how it happen, why it occurs. This is actually due to intensive or exaggerated immune response. It is not a disease, it is just an immune response. Hope you have understood. In the next video, we will see the autoimmune disorder. Thank you.